I have a question for my plant community. How many of you like terrariums? I do. And how many of you actually have a terrarium? Or are you actually deciding on creating your very own mini garden to be displayed? Because that's what terrariums are, correct? I'm actually debating on whether or not to design a terrarium. But you just can't grab a few plants, throw them in, and call it a day. Or can you? I think there should be a couple of things to consider before designing your terrarium, and that's what we're going to cover today. So stay tuned. Those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Pam, and today it's all about terrariums. Now, for any of you who like terrariums, please share why. I personally like terrariums because it's the perfect way to display your plants, and it gives you the opportunity to express yourself creatively as you create your own personalized garden. So as I mentioned earlier, you guys, there are a few things that I feel that you need to consider before you start creating your miniature garden. One being is the size of your terrarium. Now you want to think about this. Do you prefer a small and compact terrarium? If so, you may want to consider the size of your plant. Try smaller plants like smaller orchids, your miniature ivy, and some small plants that prefer to travel to ground. So it could be possibly maybe a peperomia. Do you prefer something larger to display your larger plants? This would be for the plants that would provide you with the fastest growth. So for example, your pothos, spider plants, and possibly your prayer plants. But you want to keep in mind, you guys, whichever way you decide to choose, make sure that all the plants that you're using for your terrarium requires the same type of care. Now you have your glass vessels. There's all sorts of vessels between open and closed. So you want to consider, will you be using a closed terrarium or an open one? This will also determine the type of plant that you choose for your terrarium after you choose your glass vessel. If you decide to go with a closed terrarium, you want to pick your moisture-loving plants. So examples of that would be possibly photonias, your ferns, and maybe some peperomias, as I just mentioned. Now, if you choose the open terrarium, this would be perfect for your succulent arrangements, air plants, as well as your cacti. Next, the materials. What kind of materials will you need? So you want to think about what you need to create this mini jungle. Of course you need soil, and I also recommend you using some form of charcoal, as that will help keep the terrarium clean. You will also need items such as small tools to lay your soil down. You may also need some tweezers when it comes to decorating. Now there are also other materials to consider when decorating your decorating your terrariums. So you want to keep in mind like your stone, your glass, pebbles, sand, driftwood, whatever you choose to pick. Just let your creativity just run wild here. Now you have the size of terrarium that you want to use. You made a decision on whether or not to have an open or closed vessel, as well as your decorating and all your materials ready to create this beautiful mini jungle. And now it's been created. So now, once I create this jungle, what am I to do to make sure that it's successful? So here's some quick tips for you guys as well. 1, ventilation. If you have a closed terrarium, you guys, open it and air it out every once in a while to avoid any type of mold. And you want to keep in mind that a closed terrarium needs very little watering. So one quick way, you guys, before you start misting your terrarium, you may want to check the soil. Now for your open terrariums, make sure you spray it when the plant seems dry. So you want to spray it in the mindset the same way that you would do any of your house plants. Remember that shriveling leaves is an indicator that it's time to give your plants a nice drink. But if it's yellow and mushy, then that's an indicator that you're actually overwatering it, and you may want to pull back. Now you want to also from time to time wipe the terrarium to let that sunshine in. Keep in mind, it's no different than you having your house plants hanging around pushed up against your window. From time to time you want to clean that glass to let the sunshine in so that your plants can photosynthesize. Now, if your terrarium starts to grow wild, You may want to prune your plants back to maintain the health of your plant and also keep up the appearance that you've actually designed for your mini jungle. But if you don't mind that wild look, by all means, just go ahead and let that jungle take over for your enjoyment in your terrarium. So this pretty much wraps up things to consider before creating your mini jungle. You guys, this is actually going to be part 1 of my terrarium workshop. If you hang along, I will be putting up part 2 where we'll actually have a chance to actually put together a terrarium. So guys, you want to keep in mind, if you love foliage as much as I do and you love listening to planty things, definitely hit that subscribe button. Give me a big thumbs up or a big thumbs down, whichever way you want to vote is fine with me. I want you guys to enjoy your day wherever you are in the world, and until next time guys, much love.